LSEG just cut product cycles from 6 months down to 2 weeks by completely rethinking how they build with AI. The EU is bringing down a hard deadline for content labeling, and we're talking about what that means for your product. Plus, Meta's custom silicon strategy and a massive 9-figure funding round for AI native cybersecurity. No BS AI briefing brought to you by Proactive AI. Welcome back. I'm your host Vikash Sharma, and this is where builders get straightforward AI news without the fluff. First up today, LSEG, the London Stock Exchange Group, has seen incredible gains by deploying ChatGPT Enterprise and OpenAI's API across their organization. What happened? Well, they've automated things like drafting reports and synthesizing market data, which sounds simple enough on the surface. But the real headline here is the impact. They've slashed their product release cycles from anywhere between 3 to 6 months down to just 2 weeks. And customer delivery timelines, they've improved to about 4 weeks. Think about that for a second. A financial services giant moving that fast, that's wild. Here's the key though, they didn't just bolt on AI, they embedded governance and data privacy controls right from day one, with human in the loop reviews for critical outputs. For builders, this isn't just about automating a task, it's about redesigning entire workflows to leverage AI's speed, which drove these massive gains. Embedding compliance and privacy early instead of as an afterthought was clearly the enabler. It means you can scale adoption faster and with less headache, especially in regulated industries. And it shows that when teams really own these tools at the grassroots level, it can catalyze organizational wide integration. Next, the EU has just published its code of practice for AI generated content labeling with a hard deadline looming on August 2nd. This isn't theoretical anymore. What happened? The European Commission officially released this code of practice on transparency of AI generated content. It's designed to help companies comply with Article 50 of the EU AI Act, which, remember, is already in force. This code provides really practical guidance on how to label and mark AI generated content. And yes, that August 2nd, 2026 date, that's the compliance deadline. The good news is the code itself is now undergoing its own adequacy assessment by the Commission and the AI board, meaning it's a living document, but the core requirements are set. So why does this matter for builders? If you're deploying generative AI within the EU, or even if your product is accessible there, you must implement content labeling by that deadline. This code isn't just a suggestion, it offers a very concrete, actionable pathway for compliance. You absolutely need to start planning how you'll integrate labeling and marking into your output pipelines, whether that's for text, images, or audio generated by your models. Don't wait on this. That August 2nd deadline will be here before you know it. Also in the news, Cyera, an AI native cybersecurity company, just closed a massive $600 million funding round, pushing its valuation to $12 billion. That's a staggering figure, bringing their total funding to $2.3 billion. The round was led by Evolution Equity Partners, which is a big name in the security space. What's Cyera doing with all that capital? They've recently acquired two companies, Rift and Genie Security, to expand what they call their trust layer platform. Essentially, they're building out capabilities for autonomous threat detection and response. For builders, this is a strong signal. When investors pour this kind of money into a company like Cyera, it shows a huge confidence in agentic security approaches where AI agents don't just detect but also act and respond to threats automatically. It tells us that autonomous detection and response is rapidly becoming a table stakes requirement, not just a nice to have. It means you need to be designing your systems with AI generated threat vectors in mind. And it's a strong nudge to start considering security as code and integrating trust layer platforms into your development lifecycle, rather than just bolting on traditional security tools at the end. The attackers are using AI, so your defense has to too. Finally, Meta just detailed its custom silicon strategy, giving us a clearer picture of their AI infrastructure. What happened? Meta released an explainer that really dives into the interplay of GPUs, CPUs, and their own custom designed Meta Training and Inference Accelerator, or MTIA, across both training and inference workloads. They're clarifying how these specialized components scale AI across their massive global infrastructure, and it really underscores their long term commitment to building their own custom silicon rather than relying solely on off the shelf solutions. Why does this matter for builders? Meta's transparency here offers valuable insights. Hardware specialization directly impacts your deployment costs and your latency. If you're building AI products that need to scale efficiently, you'll want to plan your deployments with specialized inference hardware in mind. Understanding how a giant like Meta thinks about this helps anticipate future scaling constraints and infrastructure trends, especially as specialized chips become more common and essential for cost effective AI operations. It tells us that picking the right hardware for your AI workloads is going to be more critical than ever. If you're finding this useful, hit follow in your podcast app right now. It takes 2 seconds and it's the best way to make sure you don't miss the next briefing. Now, let's take a deep dive into that LSEG story because it's not just a big number, it's a big lesson for all of us building with AI. We're talking about LSEG cutting product cycles from 6 months to 2 weeks, and that's thanks to ChatGPT Enterprise and OpenAI's API. What happened in a nutshell is that LSEG didn't just automate a few isolated tasks, they fundamentally redesigned their entire workflows, particularly around areas like report drafting and market data synthesis. Instead of their old multi month processes, they now have AI as a core component, streamlining the creation, review, and delivery. It's a shift from incremental efficiency to transformational speed. And crucially, they put the guardrails in place. First, governance and human review were built into the process from day one. Why does this matter right now? Well, it's a clear signal that the real ROI from AI isn't coming from simple task automation anymore. Taking a 5 minute task and making it 2 minutes. The truly disruptive value, the kind that changes market dynamics, comes from rethinking entire processes. LSEG's move shows that industries often seen as slow moving, like financial services, can achieve extreme agility when they commit to workflow redesign. It tells us that speed to market and customer delivery aren't just about faster development, but about smarter AI integrated processes that empower teams to do more much faster. So, who should really care about this? Founders, absolutely. This is your playbook for disrupting incumbents or accelerating your own growth. You can't just offer an AI feature, you need to show how your AI transforms a core business process for your customer. Product managers, you should be looking at every major workflow your users engage with and asking, how would this change if we rebuilt it with AI at its core? What cycle times can we slash? And for engineering leaders, this means rethinking your architecture. Are your systems flexible enough to allow for rapid AI integration into core business logic? Are you building in hooks for human in the loop review and robust governance from the start? How I'd think about it as a builder, I'd consider this a template for what AI transformation actually looks like. It's not about finding a single task to automate and saving a few minutes. It's about looking at your end to end value chain and asking, where are the biggest bottlenecks and how can AI help us leapfrog those, even if it means completely reimagining the process? It means moving beyond a bolt on mentality. Think of it like this: if you used to manually pour water into a bucket, automation might be getting a faster spigot. Workflow redesign is building a whole new plumbing system that pipes the water directly where it needs to go, when it needs to go there, with intelligent flow control. This case highlights that having robust governance and human oversight isn't a blocker, it's an enabler for scaling AI responsibly and rapidly in complex, regulated environments. My no BS take on this: the hype around AI often focuses on models and features, but LSEG's story cuts through that noise. It proves that the real, tangible business impact, the kind that makes investors sit up and take notice, is when you redesign entire processes around AI's capabilities, not just when you dabble in task automation. This is real transformation, not just incremental improvement. If you want one practical takeaway from today's episode, here it is. Experiment with redesigning one workflow using a tool like ChatGPT Enterprise. Here's how to try it in under 60 minutes. First, identify a workflow within your team that currently takes 2 to 4 weeks, especially one that's heavy on writing, synthesis, or data analysis. Think about internal processes like report generation, content creation, or even summarizing customer feedback. Second, map out the existing steps in that workflow. Seriously, draw it out. Then design a completely new flow where AI, like ChatGPT Enterprise, is a core step from the beginning, not an afterthought. But crucially, embed clear human review gates at critical junctures. Where does a human need to verify, edit, or approve? Finally, run a 1 week pilot with a small, focused team. Pick a discrete output, create it with the new AI powered workflow, and then measure the cycle time reduction compared to the old process. Why is this specific experiment worth your time right now? Because LSEG showed that this isn't about saving a few minutes, it's about cutting months off your processes. A short pilot can reveal massive gains and give you a blueprint for broader adoption, proving the ROI of AI driven workflow transformation within your own organization. That's it for today's No BS AI briefing. If this helped, follow the show in your podcast app and share it with one builder you know. And if you've got questions or topics you want covered, connect with me on LinkedIn and send them over. See you in the next briefing.